Welcome to this video. Myself S. Karthikeyan, working as a faculty in the Department of Aerospace Engineering at B.S. Abdurrahman Crescent, Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. This video is going to cover four major topics because whenever you are dealing with aerospace engineering and the aerodynamic subject, it's one of the main subject. Not only for in aerodynamics, in other subject also we need to know some fundamental things. So here some of the fundamental things I covered, especially for the properties which is related to fluid, then types of the line, types of the fluid, and types of the flow with examples. So for example, the first case, basic fluid properties. Here in this video I covered 12 different type of properties which is related to exactly fluid. The fluid may be liquid or gases. Generally we can say the fluid may be in the form of liquid or fluid in the form of gases also. Some of the properties very general properties, that is why I listed in the first 6 properties very general properties. Then depends upon the cases. For example, when you are dealing with the problem which is related to work, heat and energy, you may add some more special properties like internal energy, enthalpy, entropy, specific heat, all those things. Similarly, the problem is related to frictional forces and heat conduction and their effect, then automatically we need to add another some properties like coefficient of viscosity and thermal conductivity. So in these cases, the compressibility and surface tension is not included here because that property may be in the coming of next videos which is related to high speed aerodynamics. So here I am talking about only general properties which are related to basic fluids. Then when you come for the types of line, we have the 4 different types of line: streamline, path line, streak line and timeline. Similarly, when you come for the types of the fluid, we are going to discuss about ideal fluid, real fluid, Newtonian fluid, non-Newtonian fluid and ideal plastic fluid, and the most important thing, the types of flow. So we may have some idea about the terms. Normally we are hearing the steady flow, unsteady flow, uniform flow, non-uniform flow. So we are hearing the terms. So whenever you are dealing with the equation, definitely we will undergo these terms. Okay. So while reading the equation or we understanding the problem, the meaning of each and every terms will be very important. So in this video, I am giving the example of some flows also. So nearly we have 7 combination of flows. For example, the first case, steady and unsteady flow. Like that we have the 7 different combination of flows. At the end of this video, I'm given the example of each and every flow also. So we'll see one by one. So we are starting with the basic fluid properties. The first property, pressure. The pressure is the a compression stress at a point in a static fluid. The differences are gradient in pressure often drive the fluid flow, especially in the duct. So when you want to fluid moving from one location to another location, definitely pressure is needed. Depends upon the difference of pressure and gradient ranges, the fluid will be moving from one point to another point. In generally, we are very familiar. The pressure will be defined by load by area or force by area. So based on this one, we can say the unit of pressure is nothing but Newton per meter squared. Okay. So here I am not dealing with other form of units. So pressure may have a different form of units. Okay. I already uploaded one video based on the unit conversion. There you can check a different type of different unit of pressure. Here just I'm giving only for the basic unit. So pressure normally we referred by Newton per meter square. Nothing but is equal to 1 Pascal. Okay. Now the second property, density or mass density. The density of the fluid is its mass per unit volume. So density is highly variable in gases and increases nearly proportionally to the pressure level. So density in liquid is nearly constant. So the main idea, density we can define by the ratio between mass per volume. That is what a general idea. So density is nothing but a ratio between mass per unit volume. So mass in terms of kg, volume in terms of meter squared. Okay. Based on the density only, we can able to identify the flow will be compressible flow or incompressible flow, that we are going to discuss one by one. So this meaning of density or mass density. The next one, temperature. So temperature is a measure of the internal energy level of the fluid. So it may vary considerably during high speed flows of the gas. So depends upon the speed condition, especially for the high speed flows, temperature will be varying. Okay, it includes so many factors. Temperature may be the unit of temperature may be defined by four different variations like degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, degree Rankine, degree Kelvin. Okay, there are different type of unit will be available. So here I am given some example how to convert form of one form of unit into another form of unit. So here I like to add another one more point. Generally we have the confusion between temperature and heat. So you have to remember, temperature is a degree of hotness. Simply we can say, based on the definition, it's a degree of hotness. The substance or fluid, what is that amount of temperature is possessed, that we can say a degree of the hotness. In case of heat, it's a form of energy. Heat is a form of energy. Temperature is a degree of hotness. For example, how you can remember that particular difference between temperature and heat? Best example, in your home you can just, we are making of hot water. So how we are making a hot water? We are putting the vessel on the gas stove and we are allowing the heat flows to the vessel. Okay, that the best example of differentiation between the temperature and the heat. So here we are applying only the heat through the burner. So by burning of the fuel, we are giving the only heat to the vessel. That heat only transfer to the liquid, that is water or whatever the liquid you are storing there. So the degree of hardness we are measured in terms of temperature. Because of the heat energy, we are increases the temperature. So that is the difference between heat and temperature. So temperature is the degree of hardness, heat is the energy. Okay, so one form of energy. The next parameter, next property, specific weight or weight density. The specific weight of the fluid, it is weight per unit volume, just as the mass has a weight. Now generally we know, so W equal to weight. So how we can define the weight? Nothing but mass into gravity. Okay, that is in terms of the weight. Density and specific weight are simply related by the gravity. Okay, so we can say related with the gravity also. Okay, you know, here mass per volume is nothing but density. Okay, mass per volume. So when you are dividing the mass term divided by volume, you are getting the density, nothing but rho. Okay, that is called as that we can able to relate with your specific weight. Okay, then specific weight is very useful in the hydrostatic pressure applications. Okay, the unit of specific weight is nothing but Newton per meter cube. The next one, specific gravity. Specific gravity denotes by Sg. Okay, generally it is a ratio of the fluid density to a standard reference fluid. Okay, here remember, fluid, it may be in the form of liquid or it may be in the form of gases. Okay, so generally we are called as the term is fluid. Okay, so when you are taking the fluid in the form of liquid, okay, so we have to consider as a water. So this is, see here, this is water. So specific gravity we can able to calculate by two ways. So it depends upon the liquid, depends upon the gases. So it is a ratio between, okay, it's a ratio between fluid density divided by standard fluid density. Okay, so here the fluid is gases, so we are considering standard gases as a air. So air density will be standard value. Then whatever the gases you want to measure it, that you can able to put it in here. The same way when you're talking about liquid, we are considering water. The water is our reference density value. Okay, so we are generally called as a 1000 kg per meter cube. That's what we are normally referring as your density of the water. Okay, so by using of this ratio, we can able to calculate the specific gravity. Next one, internal energy. Okay, so internal energy we have to look into somewhat detail because internal energy we will define by that energy will be defined by two ways, whether it is static condition of the fluid or moving condition or dynamic condition of the fluid. Okay, when it is a static condition, okay, the internal energy is a combination of potential energy and kinetic energy. Okay, so that is why given a static condition or static condition of the liquid. For example, in the dam. So dam you want to consider the energy, so we have to consider about potential energy and kinetic energy. Here there is no any movement of the motion, so we are calculated only as the potential energy. Okay, that is why we are in static condition. Okay, similarly we have to understand what is the meaning of potential energy and kinetic energy. The potential energy is equals to work required to move the system of mass m from the origin to a position vector r. Okay, we are trying to moving mass amount of work required to movement of the mass from one location to another location. So here giving the position vector equal to r. So x, y, z nothing but your coordinates location based on the ijk unit vector. Okay, so against a gravity field the g. Okay, its value is minus mgr or g. G means we are calculating potential energy per unit mass. That is why here the mass term is not involved. Okay, so this way you can able to calculate your potential energy. Then kinetic energy. Kinetic energy equals to work required to change the speed of the mass from 0 to velocity v. So initially mass will be 0, I mean mass is there but velocity will be 0. We have to move the mass from one location to another location with velocity v. So that time what is the amount of work required, that will be calculated based on the kinetic energy. So that is why given here. So its value is of me squared or of v squared per unit mass. So this is the meaning of kinetic energy. Then total stored energy. Okay, so when you are calculating about the total stored energy, you need to sum up of all the energies like your internal energy, kinetic energy and your potential energy. So all those things we have to consider. That only is called as your internal stored energy per unit mass, total stored energy. This is only for the internal energy. So when you are talking about internal energy, is a combination of potential and kinetic. It may be static condition. When you are dealing with all those things, the internal energy, not only because of your potential and kinetic energy, when the fluid will be moving condition, we need to consider rotational energy, transport energy. Okay, like that we have to consider so many type of energy. So when you're considering fluid will be moving condition, the u will be added other parameters like rotational energy, translational energy, like that other parameter also will be added. So that is why this term is called as the internal energy. Now the total stored energy for the fluid condition, when it is moving condition, we have to add all these energies. Okay, that is very important. So we need to know the energy will be calculated based on the condition of the fluid, whether the fluid is in a static condition or fluid in the moving condition. Okay, and the unit of energy is nothing but joule. Joule nothing but Newton meter. Nothing but Newton meter. Okay, so joule equal to the unit of the internal energy. Now next we will discuss velocity. Velocity is defined as the vector measurement of the rate and direction of the motion. So vector measurement of the rate and the direction of the motion. Okay, put simply, velocity is the speed at which something moves in a one direction. Okay, that is only in the one direction. So we want to know for the particular time period how much amount of distance is covered. So that type of things will be denoted by the terms of velocity. The unit of velocity is nothing but meter per second. The next one, specific heats. The specific heats is very important when you are dealing with the compressible flow analysis. When you are dealing with compressible flows, the value of specific heats and the importance of specific heat is very essential. So we'll see one by one what is the meaning of specific heats. The specific heat, there are two type of specific heats, Cp and Cv. Okay, the two specific heats, Cp and Cv. Cv is nothing but specific heat at a constant pressure. That is why the term P comes. Specific heat at a constant pressure. Cv nothing but specific heat at a constant velocity. Okay, so here the constant volume. Specific heat at a constant volume. So specific heat at a constant pressure, specific heat at a constant volume. Okay, so these are the two things we have to remember regarding your specific heat. The ratio between Cp and Cv is called as K. So that is the value of K. K nothing but the ratio between specific heat at a constant pressure divided by specific heat at a constant volume. Okay, see how we can define this Cp. Cp is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the substance of 1 kg of mass by 1 degree Celsius at a constant pressure. Okay, so just you see the unit, you can able to easily understand. Okay, the amount of heat required, that is a joule. The amount of heat required, that is a heat, the unit of heat is nothing but joule. Okay, the amount of heat required, okay, for the mass, how much amount of mass we are taking, unit mass. Okay, that is a kg per kg. Okay, what is the increment of temperature? So 1 degree is a changes. Okay, so here how much amount of energy, how much amount of heat is required, how much amount of heat is required to change the 1 degree of temperature for the 1 kg mass of substance. Okay, so all those things happen under constant pressure condition. So that is called as a CP value. Okay, so the definition is not able to understand very clearly, just you go to the unit, there you can able to easily understand the meaning of the terms. Okay, the amount of heat required to increase the temperature for the corresponding amount of mass. Okay, here we are considering 1 kg of mass, we are going to increase the 1 degree temperature, 1 degree Kelvin temperature. Okay, so that is the condition. We need to identify how much amount of heat is required. Okay, that will be happen under the constant pressure condition. So that is called as a CP, that is a specific heat at a constant pressure. Okay, the same thing, both CP and CV having a same unit. Okay, joules per kg Kelvin. Okay, but the only the environment are changes. Here the constant pressure, here is a constant volume. So see here, CP is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the substance of 1 kg of mass by 1 degree Celsius at constant volume. Okay, so degree Celsius, degree Kelvin, almost the temperature unit, so we can able to convert one form of unit into another form. Okay, so that is why the difference between CP and the CV. So CP constant pressure environment, CV constant volume environment. Okay, then this is the ratio between CP and CV is called as K. The same way the CP will be related to your enthalpy value. See here, this is a relation. CP will be related to your enthalpy value and CV is related to your internal energy values. Okay, so internal energy related to your CV value and enthalpy related to your CP value. So this is a relation, just you have to remember. The next property, the coefficient of viscosity. Okay, so these 3 points are interlinked point. So we need to understand the coefficient of viscosity. First, you know what is the meaning of viscosity. Viscosity is nothing but, the viscosity is defined as the property of the fluid, okay, which offers resistance to the movement of one layer of fluid over another adjacent layer of the fluid. Okay, it's a property to resist the motion of the fluid. Simply we can say is the motion of the fluid. Okay, we have the two layer, automatically one layer will be tried to resist the motion of the fluid because of it having a viscosity effect. Okay, when two layers of the fluid a distance apart from the over one other at a different velocities, the viscosity together with the relative velocity causes a shear stress acting between the fluid layers. Okay, because of the shear stress, okay, the viscosity effects are dominated. Okay, whenever the viscosity is presented, that is because of your shear stress. Okay, so that point you have to remember. So viscosity is the property to oppose the motion of the fluid. In similar way, the viscosity may be defined by two type of viscosity. The first one will be dynamic viscosity or coefficient of viscosity. Both are same, dynamic viscosity or coefficient of viscosity. The symbol is mu. See here, the symbol is mu. Dynamic viscosity or coefficient of viscosity. The same way, kinematic viscosity, okay, is nothing but nu. Is nothing but nu. Okay, so generally, as per the Newton's law of viscosity, the shear stress tau, the symbol is tau. The shear stress tau directly proportional to the velocity gradient. Okay, directly proportional to the velocity gradient. So how we can able to write tau proportional to du by dy. So u nothing but velocity, y nothing but a distance from one plate to another plate. Okay, so whenever the distance because of the velocity, how because of the distance how the velocities are varied. Okay, that is what we are saying, that du by dy. Okay, simply we can say as per the Newton's law of viscosity, the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. To remove the proportionality, we introduce the constant that is called your coefficient of viscosity nu. That is why the terms come. Okay, the nu will be constant for the particular medium. For example, if I am taking the air having some viscosity value. If I am taking the water has some viscosity value. So based on the substance or medium what you are taking, you have to multiply with your velocity gradient value to obtain your shear stress. Okay, then same thing we are read here. When the fluid is sheared, why it is sheared? Because it is having a viscosity effect. When your fluid is sheared, it begins to move at a strain rate inversely proportional to the property called is coefficient of viscosity. The applied shear is also proportional to the velocity gradient for the common linear fluid. The constant of proportionality is viscosity coefficient. Our viscosity coefficient or coefficient of viscosity mu. Okay, the unit of coefficient of viscosity Pascal second. Okay, Pascal nothing but Newton per meter square. Okay, so Newton per meter square into second solla, or we can say like Pascal second. The next one, kinematic viscosity. Kinematic viscosity, we want to remove the mass term, because when dealing with the Pascal, Newton per meter square, Newton having a mass term, we want to remove the mass term. What we are doing, we are divided with the density term. So we have the dynamic viscosity. So in the dynamic viscosity nu term divided with the density, we will get the kinematic viscosity. So that is the meaning of your kinematic viscosity. The unit of kinematic viscosity, meter squared per second. The next property, specific volume. Specific volume of the fluid is defined as the volume of the fluid occupied by the unit mass or volume per unit mass of the fluid. This is a direct definition. The unit of specific volume nothing but meter cube per kg. Next one, thermal conductivity. So again, like internal energy, we need to deeply discuss about thermal conductivity. So first you have to understand the point number 4. That is very important, because that is exactly meaning of thermal conductivity. Other point, when you are dealing with the heat transfer or other subject, you will become to know. Just I want to give the good explore about this property. That is why given all the point. So first read the point number 4. What is the meaning of thermal conductivity? The rate at which heat passes through a specific material, expressed as the amount of heat that flows from unit time through a unit area with a temperature gradient of the 1 degree per unit distance. So that is the meaning of your thermal conductivity, like what we discussed in your previous case, like see here, joules per kg, like your specific heat. So specific what we are define, the same way we can define your thermal conductivity. Okay, the thermal conductivity also, it's the amount of the rate of the rate at which heat passes. So this much amount of heat will be passes for the corresponding temperature with the corresponding distance. Okay, that is called your thermal conductivity. So for the 1 meter of length, 1 degree of temperature, okay, then what is the amount of heat can able to pass. So that is called as your thermal conductivity, W by meter Kelvin. Okay, now we can see the other definitions or description. Thermal conductivity K, which relates to the velocity vector rate, relate the vector rate of heat flow per unit area Q to the vector gradient of the temperature T. So this proportionality observed experimentally for fluid and solid is known as the Fourier law of heat condition. Okay, that we can able to write in the form of following equations. Okay, so this is equation based on the Fourier law of heat conduction. Okay, this is general form of thermal conductivity equation. Okay, and what is the meaning of minus sign? So the minus sign satisfies the conventional that heat flux is positive in the direction or decrease of the temperature, direction of decreasing of the temperature. That is the meaning of your minus sign. Next property, enthalpy. Enthalpy is a thermodynamic quantity equivalent to the total heat content of your systems. Okay, it is almost equal to the total heat content of the system. It is equal to the internal energy of the system plus the product of pressure and volume. Okay, so you may study about in the thermodynamics. There you are given the same equation. Okay, that is what enthalpy. Here I am given only the sentence form of the expansion. The enthalpy tells how much heat and work was added or removed from the substance. That is the importance usage of your enthalpy. The unit of enthalpy is nothing but joule. Then next one, entropy. It is also a thermodynamic property. So thermodynamic quantity representing the inavailability of the system's thermal energy for conversion into the mechanical work, often interpreted as the degree of disorder or randomness of the systems. Okay, that is the meaning of your entropy. Okay, then the unit of entropy nothing but joule per Kelvin. So these are all the basic property generally we use for the solving of the fluid problems. Okay, here I like to add another one more clarification. Then normally we have the doubt what is the difference between pressure and stress, because pressure also load by area Newton per meter square, stress also load by area or force by area Newton per meter square. Then how we can able to identify the body or surface having a pressure force or shear stress force? Okay, so that is a simple example, a simple definition. uh, when the surfaces exactly having the force is exactly parallel to the surface. So when you are rubbing of the two hands, when you are rubbing the two hands, that is called as your stress. Okay, especially for shear stress. So when the shear stress means the forces exerted parallel to the surface. The example, when you are rubbing the two hands. Then what is the meaning of pressure? The pressure, the forces exerted perpendicular to the surface. So when you are opening your hand, exactly center of the palm, you are pressing with a single finger. Okay, when you are pressing with single finger, that is called as your pressure. So pressure acting perpendicular to the surface, but shear stress acting parallel to the surface. That is why the pressure and the shear stress are having a both are having a same unit, Newton per meter square, but the way of apply the direction of the forces having the different of pressure and shear stress. So far we are discussing about the basic properties of the fluid. Now we are move on to the types of the line, where we can use the types of line, especially when you are dealing with flow analysis. So especially you are doing for ANSYS or other software. Okay, we need to identify the flow analysis problem, even though you are dealing with smoke generator or some other parameters. Okay, by using the smoke analysis or flow properties, we need to know the meaning of the lines. So these are the regularly using the lines to represent the properties value. So we'll see one by one. The first one, a streamline. A streamline is a line everywhere tangent to the velocity vector at a given instant. Okay, that is the meaning of the streamline. For example, this is a line. See here, this is a line. This is a line. Okay, this is a line. I am taking any point on the particular line. Okay, if that is the point, suppose I am drawing a tangent to the particular point. So you just consider the arrow mark. Okay, so the arrow mark is nothing but a tangent of the particular line. So this is the line. The thin line is called as a line. Okay, I am drawing a this is a point. I am drawing a tangent to the particular point. Okay, so this tangent, the direction of the tangents, it represents the direction of the line. So if I am drawing the line like that, that is called a streamline. Okay, for example, if you consider zigzag line, a deep curve zigzag line. Okay, if the deep curve zigzag line, the corner may be very sharp. The corner point may be very sharp. If you are locating one point on the sharp corner, okay, then you are drawing the tangent line. The direction of the tangent will not give the direction of the flow. So automatically that type of line is not a streamline. So streamline means the line automatically will be represent the direction of the flow. So that is the importance of the streamline. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, this is the example of streamline. Now we see the next one, the path line. The path line is a actual path traversed by a given fluid particle. Okay, we have to consider it's only a single particle. The single particle movement, that is called as a path line. How it is moved from one location to another location, that is called as a path line. The next one, the streak line. A streak line is the locus of the particles which have earlierly passed through a prescribed point. Okay, so locus of the particles. So here we are considering about the number of particles. So number of particles for the prescribed point. How many times it can be passed over the particular point. So that type of analysis we will be using for the streak line. The next one, a timeline. A timeline is a set of fluid particles that forms a line at a given instant. Okay, for the particular given instant I want to identify the parameters, then automatically we have to go for the timeline. So these are the 4 type of lines we are using for our fluid mechanics or aerodynamics. Then so some of the point you have to remember about the lines, that's why given here. The point to be remember, the streamlines is convenient to calculate mathematically. Okay, we cannot able to do it experimentally for streamlines, so mathematical calculation based line. Okay, while the other 3 are the easier to generate experimentally. Okay, that is the first point you got to remember. The next one, note that the streamline and timeline are instantaneous lines. Streamline and timelines are instantaneous line, while the path line and streak lines are generated by the passage of the time. Okay, that is another point. Then streamline, path line, streak line are identical in steady flow. So that also you have to remember. Okay, when you're dealing with steady flow, these 3 lines are identical, only timelines are varied. Then next we are discussing about the types of the fluid. Okay, so the types of the fluid, so these are the definition for the types of the fluid. So how we can able to remember all these things? So for that purpose we have to look this graph. Okay, this is the graph. It is exactly the meaning of the particular sentence. So here in the x-axis we are dealing with the velocity gradient du by dy. That is how much amount of velocity is very depends upon the change in the distance. Okay, while changing the distance, what is the amount of velocity is changed, that is called as a velocity gradient. Okay, then here in the y-axis we are taking about shear stress. Okay, so based on the shear stress value, okay, automatically we can say like different type of the flows. So here shear stress, here velocity gradient. We can take exactly this line. In this line the shear stress is 0. There is no shear stress. If there is no shear stress means automatically it's a ideal fluid. Ideal fluid. Okay, see in these cases my velocity gradient is 0. Okay, whatever the distance, but there is no any change velocity means, so that type of the cases it called as a ideal solid. Then same way, when your velocity gradient or shear stress linearly varied, so that type of fluid is called as Newtonian fluid. Other cases non-Newtonian fluid. So like that we have to identify the meaning of each and every fluids. Now see here, ideal fluid. A fluid which is incompressible and having no viscosity is called as an ideal fluid. Actually there is no fluid such that, so that is why we called as this is one of imaginary fluid. Then why you are dealing with this type of the fluid? When you are starting the problem, we don't want to include so much of complication. We try to solve the problem very easy way. So for that purpose we have to take some simple parameters. So to avoid the complications of the problem, we are taking of the ideal fluid. Next one, real fluid. The fluid which possesses the viscosity is known as the real fluid. Yes, of course, it has a viscosity. The next one, Newtonian fluid. The real fluid in which the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain. That's what we discuss in the next graph. Okay, the real fluid in which the shear stress is directly proportional to the rate of shear strain, that is called as Newtonian fluid. Non-Newtonian fluid, the real fluid in which the shear stress is not directly proportional to the rate of strain. It is it deviates based on the some other way, not exactly on the non-dimensional fluid, not exactly on the Newtonian action. The next one, ideal plastic fluid. A fluid in which shear stress is more than the yield value and the shear stress is proportional to the rate of shear strain. So that type of the fluid is called as a ideal plastic fluid. See here, this is called as a ideal plastic fluid. So we can able to easily compare the different type of the fluid definition and graphs. Now we are coming for the last topic of our video. So this is called types of the fluid. Okay, so types of the fluid flow. There are 7 major types of the fluid flow will be available. Types of flow simply called as types of the flow. Steady flow, unsteady flow, uniform flow, non-uniform flow, laminar and turbulent flow, compressible and incompressible flow, rotational and irrotational flow, one dimensional, two dimensional and three dimensional flows, then finally viscous and the inviscous flow. Okay, so my suggestion, you have to clearly understand the all these type of the flow, because without understanding of this type of the flow, understanding of aerospace or aeronautical subject is really tough. Okay, you cannot understand any problems related to aerospace or aeronautical without understanding of the type of the flow, the meaning exactly on the meaning of the type of the flow. Okay, so we'll see one by one. Steady flow. Okay, it is defined as the type of the flow in which the fluid characteristics like velocity, pressure, density or other parameters, okay, at a point do not change with time. Okay, here the keyword is time. You should not remember. Okay, you have to remember. Okay, you should not forget it. Okay, when you are dealing with the steady flow, you have to remember the term time. So steady flow means the parameters do not change with time. Okay, whatever the time changes, the parameter is constant. So that type of the flow is called as steady flow. See here they are taken for the velocity. So velocity for the corresponding time. So change in the velocity with respect to time equal to 0. That is, there is no any change in the velocity for the time changes. It's always constant. Here rho density. Again, the change in density with respect to time equal to constant, almost 0. 0 means there is no any changes. Similarly, pressure. Okay, so when the parameters are constant with respect to time, then the type of flow is called as a steady flow. Unsteady flow, just opposite. Okay, it is defined as the type of the flow in which the fluid characteristics like velocity, pressure, density at a point will be changes with respect to time. Okay, whenever the time changes, automatically the values are changes. That is why it is called as your unsteady flow. So previously equal to 0, here not equal to 0. Next one, the uniform flow. So you have to remember steady flow, unsteady flow with related to time. So uniform flow, when the velocity of the fluid does not change either in magnitude or in the direction at any point in the flowing fluid. Okay, so with respect to the magnitude or with respect to the direction, okay, especially based on the velocity will not vary. So with respect to the space, okay, the location is very, very important. Okay, so that type of the flow is called as uniform flow. Okay, the velocity of the flow does not change either in magnitude or in the direction at any point in the flowing fluid. Okay, so it's a constant velocity. So like that is called as a with respect to space. Okay, magnitude and direction with respect to space, they called as a S. So here the type of the flow is called as uniform flow. Next one, non-uniform flow. If at a given instant the velocity is not the same at every point in the flow, is called as non-uniform because it changes. The previously the constant value, here is not a constant value, is the velocity getting changes with respect to space. The magnitude, direction are getting changes. So the type of the flow is called as non-uniform flow. Next one, laminar flow. It is a flow in which the fluid particles moves along a well-defined path or streamline, and all the streamlines are straight line and parallel. So this type of the flow is called as a laminar flow. Okay, I told you the examples are given. So after the discussion of all the flow, exams will be available. So once you read the example, you will come to know the meaning of each and every flows. So here the laminar flow is like a parallel and a simple straight line flows. All the streamlines are straight and parallel. And the next one, turbulent flow. It is a type of the flow in which the fluid particles moves in a zigzag way. Because of this condition, the eddies formations are taking place. So that is a reason of turbulent flow. Okay, turbulent flow is not like a straight line or parallel flow, especially for streamline. Here the streamlines are zigzag manner. So because of the turbulent flow, the eddies are formed. Then compressible flow. It is a type of the flow in which density of the fluid changes from point to point. So the most important definition, the compressible flow related to density. The compressible flow related to density. So compressible flow means the type of the flow in which density of the fluid changes from point to point. Compressible means the density are changing. So density of the fluid changes from point to point, or in other words, the density is not a constant for the fluid. Okay, in the case of incompressible flow, automatically density will be constant. Okay, in the type of the flow which density is constant, that type of the flow is called as a incompressible flow. Next one, rotational flow. It is a type of the flow on which the fluid particles, while flowing along the streamline, also rotate about its own axis. Okay, that is the meaning of your rotational flow. So it will be it will be rotate its own axis as well as it will be revolves. So that is the meaning of your rotational flow. Next one, irrotational flow. Irrotational flow, it is the type of the flow on which the fluid particles, while flowing along the streamline, do not rotate about its own axis. So with respect to own axis, it will not be rotate. Okay, so then when you discussing about the examples, you will become to know the clear difference between rotational flow and irrotational flow. Okay, then another type of flows, the one dimensional, two dimensional and three dimensional flow. It is almost a simple expression. When your parameter changes with respect to only one axis. Okay, the parameters are changes with respect to only one axis. So here we are considering the velocity as one parameter. The changes with respect to one axis with respect to time also, then that type of flow is called as a one dimensional flow. The parameters are changes with respect to two axes, then it is called as a two dimensional flow. The parameters are changes with respect to three axes, then it is called as a three dimensional flow. Okay, so the flow will be always three dimensional only. For our convenient purpose to simplify the problems, so first we are considering one dimensional flow, then we are considering the two dimensional flow, then we are considering a three dimensional flow. The last one, the viscous flow and non-inviscid flow. Okay, the viscous flow, inviscid flow, it's very difficult to define because it is involves so many parameters. Just I am trying to give some points about the viscous flow and inviscid flow. Okay, it is a flow where viscosity is important. Viscosity is more dominated. Okay, the shear stress value is more dominated in the flow. That type of the flow is called as viscous flow. Okay, in other case, the viscosity is absent, is not presented. That means your shear stress value is not dominated much. That type of the flow is called as inviscid flow. Okay, so these are all the types of the flow. Fluid flows are available when you're dealing with your fluid mechanics or aerodynamics related problems. So this is the clear chart, clear table. Here I am giving the example of each and every flows. Okay, so you can pause this slide and you can able to read the example of each and every flows. Because just giving the only example, so I don't want to read it again. So steady flow, unsteady flow, uniform flow, non-uniform flow, laminar flow, rotational, turbulent flow, compressible, incompressible, rotational, irrotational. So see here, rotational flow example like a cyclonic or anticyclonic flows. In the case of irrotational flow, the best example, giant wheel. Okay, so you can read it here. You can able to understand the meaning of irrotational flow. Is very simple way. Then similarly viscous flow, inviscid flow, and one dimensional, two dimensional and three dimensional flows. So that's why given the example of a three dimensional object like a cubic object. So cubic only considering for the x axis, it is called as a one dimensional. X and y is a two dimensional. X, y, z is called as a three dimensional flow. That is why given the cubic as an example of this type of the flows. Okay, so these are the references. These are reference from this textbook only. I made this video, and similarly, thank you for you so watching this video. I hope I try to cover the basic properties, types of the flow, types of the fluid, and types of the line. Okay, so I am already I uploaded so many videos related to aerospace engineering. Okay, so if you want to know about subject related to aerospace, so kindly watch my videos. So thank you for once again.